Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today we're taking a look at this knife here. This is the Kershaw Payout. Pretty cool knife. Let's get right into this. Let's start off with our size comparisons and measurements, which I have lost my ruler, unfortunately. So I've got my notes on my computer here. Let's go and see what the blade length is real quick. Okay, so blade of 3.5 inches. Okay, I think that sounds about right. I couldn't remember if it's 3.5 or 3.6, but 3.5 inches. Let's go ahead and get right in with our size comparisons. Here's our rat 1. There we go. And our rat 2. There we go. Very weird shaped knife, especially in the handle, but shorter than the rat 1, longer than the rat 2. Next up, let's grab our Civivis. Here's the Praxis. Almost identical in length. And then, there's our Elementum. Cool. This guy back over here. Let's get our flagship comparisons out here. Bug Out from Benchmade. And the Spyderco PM2. Okay, cool. And we'll close up by comparing it against a couple of Kershaws. Here's one of my favorite Kershaws ever. The Highball. Really need to get the Highball XL. Like, I really need to get my hands on that knife. And here is the Bare Knuckle. Awesome. So, what are we looking at here as far as materials go? Well, this has a D2 blade. So I can show that there. D2. This little symbol means it's a in-house Kershaw design. The blade itself has this stonewash finish, and it's a lot of sites list this as a drop point. I would call this a straight clip point. Whatever you want to call it. There's what it looks like. It's a steel frame lock knife with a G10 insert here, and then we have these copper colored accents. I don't think it's actual copper. I'm pretty sure it's steel. In fact, let me grab my little magnet and we can test that real quick. Where did I put my little magnet? Jeez, guys. I guess I was not ready to sit down and film a video today. I thought I was ready, but that's what I get for thinking. Here. There we go. You know what? I have a magnet on my keychain. So, let's see here. Okay, so we're sticking pretty strongly to that. And the screw. And we're sticking less strongly. I think we're sticking to whatever's under this. So it's not steel. Maybe it's aluminum? I don't think it's really copper. No, I'm pretty sure it's aluminum. Looking at it closer, I'm pretty sure it's aluminum. So, yeah. Awesome. Now we know that. Steel clip, and this knife is assisted. This has Kershaw's Speed Safe Assist. I have actually done an entire video about carrying an assisted knife. I will leave a link to that in the description if you want to check that out. It's a pretty interesting video. I think you might get a lot from it if you're one of those people who just kind of turns your nose up at spring assists all the time just because. I know that I tend to do that as well, but if you're like that, go check out my video. Maybe it'll not change your mind, but make you a little less harsh on spring assists. But yeah, so let's go ahead and go and do some cutting with this guy. Before we do, oh gosh, I've got to warn you guys. There's a part during the cutting footage, which I took a couple months ago. There's a part where I attempt to chop with this knife, and I hurt my hand. And I try not to swear and curse a whole lot on this channel because, you know, I have a younger brother who sometimes watches my channel, so I just kind of I try to keep most of my videos. Family friendly. I know there's a couple that, But anyways, after hurting my hand, my first reaction was to cuss and swear, and I caught myself. But well, you'll see what happened. Just be warned. All right, let's go get to it. Alrighty, Kershaw Payout. Almost called it a cannonball. Kershaw Payout. Payload. I think it's payout. My memory is failing me. Anyways, yeah. Let's get into it. Let's start with ergos first. This handle looks super weird, doesn't it? That looks ridiculous. Yeah, I know. Is it comfortable, though? Does it work? Yeah, it does. You have kind of a pistol grip here, which means if you want to choke back here to do some chopping, you can. Maybe we'll go do some chopping. I don't know. But yeah, it looks like it'd be super uncomfortable, like all kinds of ridges everywhere. But honestly, it's not bad. The clip disappears. The jimping up here is very good. Exactly where I want it and exactly the right texture. So really, really nice in that regard. Handle itself is stainless steel. It's a stainless steel frame lock. We have this G10 insert here. Copper pivot color. Love pivot colors. But yeah, how's the action? Polarizing. A lot of people aren't going to like this, but this knife is assisted. It has Kershaw Speed Safe, which means there's a little torsion spring in here that puts pressure on the blade when it's closed, and when you pull the flipper tab, the spring takes over and opens the knife the rest of the way. The main reason why a lot of people don't like assist is because it gives you a little bit of resistance on the close, like that. Instead of like, do I have a? I've got to have it. Yeah, there we go. Instead of like a ball bearing flipper knife, which will do that. This you have to push the blade. I have a video about EDCing this knife that I'm working on. I hope it'll be posted before this review comes out, but anyways, there are some advantages to an assist, such as if you're wearing gloves, if you're working in the cold. If you just need your knife blade to open without any problems, an assist might not be a bad idea. So the action, as far as assists go, is pretty good. Kershaw Speed Safe was like the OG, so they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Nice ting, like that. Okay, how's it carry? It's kind of an awkward profile knife. It's a steel frame lock, so it's a little bit heavier than you might think, but tilt down a little bit. The clip is completely deep carry. If you look at this clip, completely deep carry mounted from the inside, completely deep carry clip. In the hand, it has no problems, but the clip going into the pocket, it works fine, and it holds the knife there very well. Coming out, it can be a little bit grabby, but overall, it's not a bad clip. It's not a bad clip. It's really not. It could have been worse, so I'm not going to give it a hard time. Too much of a hard time for that. So let's go ahead and do our cutting. This is a D2 blade. I would call this a clip point. Maybe you might call it a drop point. In fact, I think most retailers call this a drop point, but I don't know. Call it what you will. Let's go ahead and cut the one of the wings off this box. This knife is not super thin behind the edge. It's a flat grind, but the blade is pretty thin, all things considered. And whoops. Finish my cut. Yeah, it's slicey. She's slicey. So there we go. No complaints there. Alrighty. Let's grab our rope. Let's do a little bit of a pull through. Nice, nice, nice. Tilt down. Let's do some pushes. Usually thin blades don't do well just pushing through this material, but this knife has a little bit of weight behind it, so I'm curious to see what happens. Okay. Okay, yeah. It did not make it all the way through. It almost did on this cut here. That cut wasn't very deep. That cut was okay. That's usually what you get with knives that have really thin blades or really thin grinds. They don't tend to push through the rope as well. That's a very, very abrasive material, by the way. So that test is just to kind of to see. All right, now let's see how it goes through the pool noodle. Okay, I can definitely feel that it's a little bit thicker than something like a Civivi. That flat grind, the swedge here, I could definitely feel that a little bit going through. But overall, we made ourselves some pretty thin little lifesavers. So that's not a bad score at all. This guy's actually a pretty good slicer. That's really, really nice. Do we want to do some chopping? I've got a lot of aspen around here. You know what? We'll do some chopping. So last summer, my family came out here. This is part of my family's property. And we de-limbed a bunch of these aspen trees that were falling onto the old homestead. All these buildings in here. So now we have piles of aspen left over from the summer. So we'll chop a little bit of that. I don't want to do anything too heavy duty because, again, fairly thin blade. So I'm not expecting it to be an amazing chopper, but with this type of grip that you can get, it might be something. I also didn't bring my gloves, but when do I ever remember gloves, right? All right, here we go. So this is our what we're going to be chopping. Again, like I said, I didn't want to do anything too crazy, but let's see what we got. Make sure you guys can actually see this. Son of a booka-nush. Wow. Whew. Always wear gloves, guys. Don't be an idiot like me. I have gloves in my pickup over there, but too gosh darn lazy to go get them. Ouch! 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 Oh, shoot. Gosh dang it. Get back here. There's what I wanted. Whew. Ouch. That was about what I expected. The grip does let you chop. The blade's not super heavy, though. And if you're going to do that, wear gloves. Oh, my gosh. Ouch. But, edge held up pretty well, it seems like. Yeah. Okay. Back to the table. Alrighty. So, let's get into what I'm liking and not liking about the Kershaw Payout. So the first thing I like, I always start off if I like the looks of a knife. That's usually the first thing I talk about. And yeah, I find this to be a pretty eye-catching knife. I love clip point blades, and I love copper. Copper and black go really well together for me. And so yeah, this is kind of my jam. Like the G10, it's got this really weird kind of back spacery thing. I'm not sure what that's about, but you know what? It's not the worst thing ever. But I do like the way this knife looks. Kershaw, I've heard a lot of people say that they tend to be kind of overboard. I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with this. It looks different. It definitely stands out from a crowd. If this knife is just laying on a desk with a bunch of my other knives, I can definitely pick it out pretty quick. It's not just, plain G10 or plain steel. I like that quite a bit. Next thing I like are the ergos. This knife really doesn't look like the ergos would be very good, but they are. This jimping is just about perfect. It lands exactly where I want my thumb to be. I feel like I'm perfectly, close enough to the edge here. The handle, kind of kicks into my palm like that, and it just feels really good. The clip stays out of the way, and yeah, just very good ergos. And when you're using gloves, this knife is very easy to index and use, so I'm a big fan of that. Yeah, the ergos are just really nice. It's not as fat as you'd expect, but yeah, good ergos. Are they the best I've ever felt? No, but I would definitely put these ergos as somewhere between very good and great. So yeah, definitely good there. Next thing, access to the lock bar is very good. It's easy to get that lock bar moved over, get that blade closed, and we'll talk about the action. Yeah, actually, you know what? We'll talk about it right now. I love this flipper tab. I love the way that the handle leads into the flipper tab. The jimping is excellent, and it's assisted, which basically means that you will not fail a flip with this knife. I know assisted opening knives are polarizing as far as like the knife enthusiast community goes. Speed Safe, designed by Ken Onion, is the OG assist, and it's my favorite spring assisted system. That's another thing too, is not all spring assists are made the same. Like, if you compare this to a crappy M-Tech, you can definitely feel this has a much higher quality assist. I know a lot of people, again, don't really like assist because you don't get that good, bearing action. And I think Kershaw makes fantastic bearing knives. Their KVT system is one of the best in my opinion. But, you don't get that nice fidgetability, the droppingness. But this assist is very good. It rockets out of there 100% reliably. The flipper tab is nice and comfortable. You will not miss a flip. It's jimped really well. The action is very good for a spring assisted knife. The next thing I like is this is a great knife for working in dirty environments. I already mentioned this, but I have a whole video about, my experiences EDCing an assisted opening knife for quite some time. And there were a lot of things that I really appreciated. This is a great knife to use in a dirty environment. If you do not want to get dirt and grime down on your pivot, this is a great knife because what you get is a flipper that will flip 100% reliably even in dirt and grime and stuff. And I appreciate that. It is running on washers, and it flips really well. And it's possible to get a manual flip with washers. I should have brought out my... in fact, I will. I'll go get that. The steel wheel Modus is a manual flipper on washers. As you can see, no assist. And it does work good as well. But, an assist really does, if you really need that blade to deploy while you're working, you don't want to fail deployment or anything, an assist is a good way to go. I'm going to stop harping on about this because, again, check the other video, but I do not mind the assist, and the Speed Safe assist is really good. So the action on this knife is just fine. Next thing, this is just a performer. Like, this knife is an absolutely excellent knife. The blade is wonderful. So it has a flat grind. It's not even really that high of a flat grind. The behind the edge thickness reading is, it ranges from about 21 thousandths to about 18 thousandths. So not the thinnest thing, although 20 thousandths is perfectly acceptable for an ADC knife, in my opinion. 20 thousandths, nothing wrong with that. But this knife slices better than some Civivis. And the reason, look how thin that blade is. Let's bring out the Rat 1. This is what I usually compare blade stock thickness to. Look how thin the blade on the Payout is. This makes this knife feel like an actual laser beam. This is a lightsaber. It's, heck, let's grab my caliper. Guys, I'm an idiot. I could have just used these to measure the blade earlier. Okay, there we go. Let's zero out just in case. Okay. Let's measure the blade stock thickness here. A 100,000ths of an inch. That is not bad. That is actually pretty good blade stock. Yeah, that's not bad at all. This knife passes through material like a hot knife through butter. And the ergos, combined with those ergos, you really get a lot of leverage and pressure into your cuts. And this just slices so nicely. It's one of those things where I wish I could just hand this to everyone watching the video and say, go cut some cardboard. You'll see what I mean. It is, well, it's pretty unbelievable, honestly. It's not what you're expecting from a knife this size. Yeah, it slices fantastically well. Alrighty. Next thing I like is the stonewash on the blade. Fantastic stonewash. Just really, really great. Looks fantastic. I love stonewashes. And it's also pretty reflective, actually. I was noticing, you know, I'd be like, I could watch a video on my phone and then hold the knife in such a way that it reflects. Oh yeah, look, you can see that, you know, they're reflecting my fingers. It's kind of a reflective stonewash. Yeah, it's a nice finish. I like that a whole lot. Really, really cool. Yeah, there we go. Next thing I like is how they did this pocket clip. We will be talking about the pocket clip later, but as you can see, oops, blow out some gunk in there. Get out of there, gunk. That's not coming out. Anyways, as you can see, this pocket clip right there, yeah, it screws in from the inside, which means that when you're carrying this, there is nothing between the pocket clip and the scales. So this is a true deep carry clip. If you like deep carry, that works really good. The clip itself is very good at staying out of the way of your hand when you're holding the knife. I can't feel the clip at all. In fact, unless I look, I could almost feel like I could almost trick myself into believing that there is no clip. So that's really, really good. Next thing, back to the blade, actually. I forgot to mention, I like seeing Kershaw using the D2. This is one of their Chinese-made knives, and usually, you know, these are stainless steel frame locks assisted with 8CR13. I really like that they went with D2 here, and the D2 felt like it held up really, really well. Like, I review a lot of budget knives. I'm pretty familiar with a lot of D2, and this D2 has held up really, really well. Something I've noticed, let me grab a sticky note real quick. Oh, look, this one's already been cut by something. But I use this knife a lot on the ranch this winter, and I was cutting hay string and stuff like that, and hay string, baling twine, is actually really, really rough on a knife. It can chew up edges. I've had it chew up like 8CR13 and stuff, and I've even had it chew up some D2, especially when you're just like shoving your knife into hay bales, cutting that string, you hit stuff. In fact, I hit 2 rocks. There were some rocks baled up in the hay that I hit with this knife on different occasions, and it did not damage the edge at all, which I've had certain D2, when they hit a rock, they'll bend, or chip, my bad. But also seemed like the edge retention held up really well. I have not sharpened this knife. I've had this knife for quite a few months at this point, and haven't sharpened it, haven't even really stropped it, been using it very, very hard, and I'm pretty sure it's going, might be going dull now. Let's see. I can tell it's not quite as sharp as it used to be. You can see that cut was a little bit hairy, but still very, very nice and sharp. Definitely a great working edge on there. And yeah, this D2 has just held up beautifully. I've been very, very impressed. And yeah, I'm sure when I do have to sharpen it, you know, I'll put, you know, reprofile the edge, and I'm sure it'll be even better. But yeah, really, really awesome. So that's really, if you want to take all my likes and boil them down, this is a very functional knife. Great ergos, great blade, performs fantastic in a bunch of different situations, not just on the ranch doing, you know, hard use stuff, but also just in everyday, as an everyday EDC tool. This is a fantastic clip point. I love clip point blades. I've said this a lot. This one's not like a buoy clip point. This one's more like the straight clip. And this is probably the best clip point blade shape for EDC. Let's see if I can do this. Because you can get to the tip fairly easily. Not as easily as, something like a worn cliff, obviously. But you get to that tip pretty easily. It's not swooping up out to nowhere. But yeah, just very, very good blade shape. Even though the blade is so thin that, you have these swedges here that give you a little bit of strength. I would definitely not call the tip dainty. But yeah, just a really, really nice design as far as utility goes. So what are some of the negatives? The speed safe is going to be something that turns a lot of people off. I know for me, I don't want all my knives to be assisted. I don't want to carry an assisted knife all the time. But, I can definitely see that this knife has a place. And in my collection, too, I'll probably be keeping this knife. And, yeah, it'll definitely be used. Next thing is a steel frame lock. So this is heavy. It's a lot heavier than something like the Praxis, which, these are pretty comparably sized knives. Very, very heavy. The carry profile on this knife is a little bit awkward. It kind of bends around places. Although, on the bright side, keeps that flipper tab from, hitting your finger when you're reaching down in your pants. So Nick Shabazz would appreciate that. The clip is not the best. I like how they did this clip. I love the idea behind this clip. It's a little bit too tight. Just a little bit too tight. If this was loosened up just a hair, this clip would be pretty much perfect. But it's not, so yeah. Next thing, I know a lot of people, this is going to be just a polarizing looking knife for a lot of people. A lot of people, like I said, think the Kershaws look too busy. I don't mind it, so I'm not going to harp on that too much. Next thing, I don't really understand this little back spacery thing here. It's kind of cool, but, it just kind of serves no purpose other than to collect crap in there. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. I don't know. Next thing, you can see there's a little bit of a screw sticking up out of the scale. Well, there it is, sticking up out of the scale. That's not ideal. It's not affecting the blade or anything, but still, just not pretty. I guess what I'm trying to say. And then you flip it over here. The screws for this little back spacery thing don't match screws on this side, and it took me a long time to notice that. And it was one of those things where once I saw it, I could not unsee it, and it just kind of, I don't know, set off my OCD. I think it pretty much had to be, since I had to have the extra liner on this side for the assist, but whatever, right? Whatever. Something that's a little bit more of a problem is when opening this knife, you put it in your hand like this part that's digging into your palm, that can actually hurt. That's a pretty sharp corner, and it's not like hurt, like gonna make me cry or anything, but, and that's just not super pleasant. Yeah. I see, look at that dimple it made in my palm. That could be a little less pokey, but I guess it's not a huge deal. That's honestly pretty much what I have for the negatives. Let's go ahead and get into my final conclusions. Price on this guy. I see they've gotten quite expensive some places. I got this one for $55. I think Blade HQ has them for $60. Let me see. Blade HQ. Yeah, they have it for $59.95. I've seen some places that have these as high as $65. $60 I don't think is a bad deal for this. $65 is a little bit high. I'll keep looking. Ooh, here's one that has it for $68. Yeah, that's a little bit too high, but if you can get it between $55 and $60, I think that's a really, really good price. My final conclusions are that this is just an excellent user. It really is. An excellent user knife. I forgot the words that I was going to say, but What I'm looking for is, this is a very utilitarian knife. If you are if you're a working man or gal, and you're just looking for a good, dependable bladed object, it's hard to go wrong with this. If you're an enthusiast, a collector, if you're, all about, I don't know, if you're looking at this knife, if you've made it this far into the video, this is probably a knife for you. This is probably a knife that you will enjoy. It's a great user. In a bunch of different environments, this is a fantastic, usable knife. People who this knife aren't for probably didn't even click the video because they kind of already know what they're getting into. An assisted budget knife that's a steel frame lock, a little bit heavy. If this isn't your thing, then it's not your thing. For me, I really appreciate this knife. Excuse me. I really appreciate this knife as the tool that it is, because it's a damn good tool, honestly. I mean, what more do you want from your knife? The blade performs excellently. You have an excellent blade shape. Slices really good. Strong enough to resist some damage. The steel is done very well. It has this great stonewash on it. Fantastic performing blade. The ergos are very nice. This jimping is just perfect. This knife locks into your hand and it stays there. The deployment is reliable. When you are working, that's what matters, is a reliable deployment. And I know there are situations where, you want to get the knife back in your pocket one-handed, but as you see there, it's not very hard to just one-hand this knife. I'm just going to start going in circles here if I keep talking, but can I recommend this knife? Yes, absolutely. If you're looking for a good work knife, it's hard to go wrong with this. This knife, I think, will last a long time. It'll hold up to some abuse, and it'll perform very, very well for anything that you need it to. If you're more of an enthusiast or something, unless you're a Kershaw collector, this probably isn't what you're looking for. If you're just looking for things to look nice in your collection, I think this knife looks nice, but you might not. If you're just looking for, your next little package opener or something, I mean, you could probably do without this knife. But, yeah, this is a hardworking knife. It gets my recommendation. I really, really, really like this knife. One of my favorite Kershaws. And, yeah, very, very good knife. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe below. If you didn't like the video, leave it a dislike and tell me why in the comments below. I read the comments. I take constructive criticism. We're all good. But yeah, until the next video, I've been Gideon, and adios.